This month we've been blessed with a new installment of Five Nights at Freddy's, not only bringing new characters, but also adding new lore and enriching the story, thanks to the fact that we're going back to the past. A good video game is great not only for its story but also for being entertaining and fun, so join me to see why Secret of the Mimic is so good, and why its reception from the public has been positive. As we can notice right from the start, this video game apparently takes place in one of the earliest points in the chronology. In this story, we find ourselves in 1979 where we meet Arnold, a technical worker at Fossil Entertainment. He is given the incredible and terrifying mission of going to Mori's custom manor to pick up the Mimic blueprints. Something I like besides is Arnold's tired attitude.
What? I can't keep my eyes open either.
A sign that overexploited is the pressure from Hand Unit's voice, which
for being a part of the Fazbear team. Dispatch out.
In this case is dispatch or operator. Honestly, it's something generic, it's not really their name, it's just having this very characteristic little voice in the franchise. These snuff style jokes, bordering on sadistic and sarcastic, add a nice touch to the game. Simply put, some things shouldn't change. When we arrive, we'll take out our data diver, our trusty tool to access different areas of the place. When we go out, we'll see the building and need to sneak in from the right side since everything is closed. And yes, I can't go on without first highlighting a mechanic that will come up frequently. I mentioned in a short video, but I'll stress this. The game's mechanics are limited because it was meant for virtual reality. That is, our character can't even jump, but of course, when we play in virtual reality, we use our hands a lot. That's why, to make up for that, instead of just pressing a button like the E key, here, more interaction is added to the hands. Through the mouse, when we reload, we open the grid, drag our mouse forward, and then to the right, with the engines. We'll need to ease up on the puzzles and levers, use circular movements, and make a slight left movement when opening doors. This was already seen in Helgwen T2. That interaction with the mouse when we're not in virtual reality, but maybe it looks like our protagonist's hand interacted with these objects. Is it more highlighted, or does it stand out much more? And, without a doubt, it's well made and well thought out. Once we're inside the building, we'll be greeted by a very interesting animatronic show, showing that this place was full of innovation and creativity. But due to its abandonment, it has become obsolete and is in very poor condition. Then we'll get back in touch with Dispatch, and this is where the main dynamic of the video game begins. Throughout the night, we'll have to try to improve our data diver through a machine with a puzzle so we can access more levels and get Mimi's blueprints. Which, by the way, after activating the power, will appear stalking us from the shadows, and later, not so much. It will be a direct confrontation, and this is where the dynamic begins, where we'll have to hide from him, which can be done with the help of lockers or hiding spots. Also, there are tools on the map like the mice to distract us, although it's not entirely necessary because if we make noise with any object in our environment, we can also get his attention. Returning to the lockers, I have to admit Mimi is easy to avoid. We can lock ourselves in even with him nearby and he might ignore us, but we still shouldn't underestimate him. Once he finds us, he's very fast and can become a problem. I also want to highlight the use of these signs, which have a button that makes noise, because they really remind me of Poppy Playtime. Would I be lying if I said no? Initially I thought it was a direct copy, but at least here they use it differently, not just as an Easter egg. Continuing with our journey, we will meet Jackie, our first boss. At first, he seems nice and harmless, but soon we will realize that he is the complete opposite. He will come after us by attacking the innocent Diddy Typer first, which gives us a chance to escape. And here comes Arnold's first fall, where surprisingly, he is well enough to continue the tour around the place. But naturally, Jackie won't leave us alone. Thanks for telling me how to run the game. I didn't know before. This is how Jackie's chase begins, where I think he could have easily ended our life because we see his hands in front of us. Frequently, this chase is fair. So you better do everything right because just making a mistake can slow you down a bit, and that makes the difference between living or dying. We'll manage to escape, but not for long. Jackie will find us, but luckily for us, the ventilation collapses and we end up at the central point with another fall. Seriously, I don't know how Arnold can keep going after 2 falls. Now we'll have to go to the exhibition room with this constant fear that Mimic could show up at any moment. That's right, after such a huge chase, anyone would be a bit more alert. Arnold will come across a blocked elevator on his way, so grab your gloves to fix it. Honestly, this part is a bit tedious. If you don't really understand, what are you supposed to do here? Fiona, wife of Edwin Murray, creator of Mimic, the distractions, and if we mess something up, well... Death, Satania. Now imagine if you don't understand something and keep failing at the same thing, infinite death. Yeah, it happened to me a bit more, and hell would show up, from William Afton. Once the elevator is fixed, we can explore the exhibition hall, where we'll find Big Top. And also a set of distractions that we have to play to spin the roulette, hoping that one of them will give us the grand prize. The bad thing is that we're not very lucky, so we'll play all the distractions, But every time we finish, Big Top will go into attack mode, and we'll have to avoid being seen by him or noticed by one of those mannequins, because if not, if we manage to do it successfully, we'll have to restart what seems to be the power again, and that way everything goes back to normal. When we win the grand prize, we'll be applauded. But Big Top will escape. When we reach the rooftop, he'll surprise us, forcing us to flee. This is where things get more interesting. There isn't just one linear path, there are several. It depends on where this character strikes to know which paths are blocked. This can vary, which is why it hurts. We don't know the right path. It might seem like we escaped, but it's nearly impossible since the mannequins reveal our position. However, luckily for us, Big Top falls under its own weight, being the third time Arnold falls and the animatronic is destroyed. But Arnold is fine. Gentlemen, dispatch. Now it tells us that we have to go to the demonstration theater, where Mimic appears again. You know, this makes me think of Security Breach. I mean, there we also had characters chasing us all over the place, but supposedly the main antagonist there was Val, but she ended up being a bit secondary. Or was she just one more among the crowd? Since we also have the landlocked animatronics chasing us, but in this game, it's Mimic who's always stalking us. And even though they use the other animatronics to attack us, those work as bosses. Meanwhile, Mimic will always be there. Here, he really gets the importance as an antagonist, plus the plot revolves around him. In this video game, in short, the character finally gets justice, continuing with the story, to enter the theater. We're told that we have to wear a springlock suit. Without it, it's incomplete, so we'll have to go look for the missing pieces. That includes the arms, legs, and head of the springlock suit. Once assembled, we'll be able to get into the suit. It's impossible not to compare it to Security Breach, where we also have the ability to control or get into an animatronic or suit. What's the benefit of this that we've already used? Is it supposedly a threat to Mimic? So, running into him isn't an issue, just like the landlocked animatronics in Security Breach. Wearing a suit really makes you feel part of the Snuff universe. Maybe that's why we felt so excited the first time. Also, I'd like to point out that this suit in particular really reminded me of Bioshock 2, because in that game we have a kind of drill arm, and here, well, a ball launcher with the same shape is definitely different, but there's still a certain resemblance. We'll have to make our way through the showy stage, where we'll have the chance not only to watch, but also to be part of a play featuring puppet Foxy. Here, an interesting dynamic starts, though we've seen it before in the target booths. This allows the play to continue as usual. Well, not really, because the whole theater seems to be collapsing little by little, and guess who falls down again? Because of this serious fall. We will be attended by Nurse Dolly. Here, Edwin will talk to us a bit about recycling, a very visionary topic for that time. We must avoid Nurse Dolly, and that includes eliminating her. We'll need to finish all oven tasks, which mainly means taking out the trash. But unfortunately for her, Nurse Dolly crosses our path, so it's game over for Nurse Dolly, and we would all think that's her end, but no, Nurse Dolly is alive. She's alive, more incinerated than ever. This starts another chase. I have to admit that seeing Nurse Dolly with lava reminded me of the special delivery skins. I'm not sure if it was intentional, but it looks amazing. I'm also glad it's more than just a skin and actually plays a role in the story. Nurse Dolly won't stop coming after us, and we see her much more aggressive. Seriously? Just one noise can make us lose because there are no lockers to hide in. Here, stealth is essential. We call the elevator, everything goes haywire, and the channel ends there. He has problems again, starting a new repair minigame. Even though it's simple, it does have its own level of difficulty. Especially when Nurse Dolly gets in our way again, and we have to fix the elevator due to the extra weight she adds. Once the processes are complete, the elevator will be repaired and we'll take care of her. We'll return to Dispatch, where he'll send us to the warehouse. Mimic, disguised as a girl, will chase us, but the sorcerer remains unfazed. We'll make our way by restoring power again, and as we go through the facility, we'll eventually find ourselves in a place full of noisy cupcakes. These damn things are alarms that attract Mimic's attention, so besides being careful, we'll have to hide if one of them makes noise. If we survive, we can finally reach the surveillance room and the place where Mimic's blueprints are located. Before moving on, I have to talk about this. I'm not sure if these are meant to be windows or something else, because honestly, I don't think they're screens. But honestly, you can tell it's not something 3D, it's like in the original games where they imitate The Office being 3D. But really, it's just an image with a good effect. Something similar happens here. I don't know if it was on purpose, but honestly, you have to admit it's not well done or finished. Continuing with the story, we will meet White Tiger. It's still being discussed whether this is Mimic or the soul of some victim, which could very well be David, Edwin Murray's son, since you can hear a child's laughter. Also, he has the power to teleport and cause hallucinations. Also, it's worth noting that he had a stuffed toy very similar to that suit when he was still alive. So yes, this is probably the stage where we come face to face with David. This moment, honestly, is one of the scariest in the video game. Because the room is very dark, you can hear voices, and Tiger Rock keeps stalking us. We must follow the lights, as it's our only defense against a terrible, painful death. Sometimes we won't even have that option. Just a flashlight star that will make us stay alert to everything around us. Because out of nowhere, White Tiger can appear to attack us. It's a tense moment, especially when we have to follow arrows to find the right path. Having survived White Tiger, we'll contact dispatch again. They'll tell us that we've completed our job, that we can now hand over the data diver and leave. If we do as they say, we'll get one of the endings, but at least for me, I consider it the bad ending. Apparently, the real dispatch will say they tried to reach us all night and that we've lost the data diver. This reveals Mimic was behind everything and is actually in the van. Thank you to us. Wow, that's right. We are Freddy in a place that looks a lot like the one from FNAF 1 while Mimic watches us from the shadows in the front row. But what if we don't listen to dispatch and don't give him the data diver? What if we put together the parachute.exe and try to escape? Will this dispatch threaten us? He'll say Mimic will put us in a suit and that's how it ends. However, Arnold keeps going, starts the farewell show to be able to leave, but an old friend comes to take revenge. Here, we'll need to pull levers to keep the elevator descending so Big Top can't catch us. After that, we'll arrive at the place we saw earlier in the first ending, only this time we're alive. However, when we turn on the lights, Mimic will appear again. Therefore, we'll have to find a way to avoid him and move forward. We'll use the skinlock suits to confuse the surveillance system so we have a chance to sneak into the office. Personally, I love this mechanic. We were always the ones guarding the office, but now it seems like we're taking on the role of the Animatronics. Dispatch locked the doors on us, but we still found a way to get in. An interesting way to switch roles. When we reach the office, we'll meet what's left of Fiona. After her death, Edwin put her consciousness in a machine.
Yes.
Like in Portal 2 with the sides. Fiona asks us to activate the communications subterminal in the main house, so that way we can convince Edwin to fix Mimic 2. It's the same Mimic that's been chasing us all game. Don't worry, when we reach the main house, we want it. Collect different film reels so we can decipher a code and enter Edwin Murray's office. However, these short films give us a bit of lore. It makes us understand that Edwin, although he cared a lot about his son and took good care of him at first, wasn't really focused on him. In later years, at least on his second birthday, he didn't want to attend since he thought it was trivial. However, after Fiona's death, a deep void was left, both in Edwin and in David. So much so that Edwin was the one who transferred a certain consciousness of his wife into Mimic 1. That's basically all the movie reveals to us, although in fact throughout the game there are recordings where many more things are revealed. Like after having succeeded with Mimic 1, he transfers his wife's consciousness to the previously seen machine and focuses on Mimic 2. Instead of transferring his wife's consciousness, he now wants to do the same with his son who died later. However, he doesn't quite succeed, which ends up enraging him, and he takes out all that anger on the endoskeleton. Mimic 2 learns from this behavior, since of course it's designed to imitate. Therefore, that's the reason why he's grateful to us and why every time he sees us he wants to end our lives. Once in the office, we find out from a recording that there was an explosion inside. Edwin tells us this. However, it's actually Mimic 2 who learned to imitate the voice of his creator, as well as his boss. These.
I can't move, I can't feel my fingers. Legs. You know, speaking of legs, what do you think? I just finished mine.
Now, although we're not explicitly told that Edwin died here, the truth is that's the most likely scenario. We'll activate the surveillance room and then we'll run cradle.exe. However, we didn't expect Mimic to follow us, so this is where we start running. And honestly, there's a scene here that really reminds me of the one in Ruin, the elevator one, with Mimic. For a moment, I thought the same thing would happen as at the end of that game. Fiona seems to say a few words to Edwin, apparently not knowing that he's no longer inside the Mimic mansion. Despite everything, he doesn't give up, so we have to keep running away from him until he appears in front of us. It seems like there's no way out, but luckily for us, he's pushed by the debris. This gives us the chance to finally get out of the mansion, watching as everything starts to catch fire. As usual with the locals in the snuff universe, honestly, that should really change. It's a bit cliche. We're chased by some remains of animatronics. Even when we're driving, Mimic finds us. This causes us to flip the car, and when it looks like he's going to finish us off, he just takes the data diver from us. That concludes the normal ending. And well, now we also have a good ending as expected. For that, we'll have to collect all the gifts scattered around the mansion. This way, these items will help us complete a minigame that will give us an upgrade for our data diver. With this upgrade, when we reach the main house, we'll be able to access a room very similar to Snuff's. 4. Are we here to complete a story? We take White Tiger's stuffed animal and put it there, since it was baby's favorite. This way, we start the story through a sequence where we have to correctly complete the story. This gives us the opportunity to repair Mimic 2, letting him rest once and for all, just like us too. As you can see, the story is entertaining. Without a doubt, Mimic and the story he has with Edwin's family expand the lore much more. I won't explain in detail since I have before, but I love how much revolves around them. Suggesting it wasn't only Henry William who made the animatronics, they also needed help from a third party. Definitely, you can see the changes this brings to the timeline. My god, I'm seeing how the Snuff 2025 timeline is coming together. Isn't this bound to happen? We also have charismatic bosses besides Mimic. Although, honestly, even though Jack and North Dolly could be considered new, the truth is that Big Top looks a lot like Disc Jockey Music Man, so we can't really say they're completely original. But each one has its own charm and its respective difficulty. On the other hand, it's worth highlighting how well thought out the mechanics are. It's not revolutionary and is actually quite simple, but sometimes less is more. It's even more so in horror games, where the purpose is to make you feel helpless, rather than presenting a protagonist who can fight the animatronics. We can only run and stay unnoticed if needed. I still wonder if virtual reality glasses would improve this experience. We'll find out soon enough, surely, but if we consider that Secret of the Mimic is a good game, we have to admit that while it's a very structured and well-told story, along with well-made mechanics, the environment also contributes, as does the fact that it's set in a kind of abandoned factory. It fits really well with FNAF. I'm not going to deny that all these recordings and also the posters with sound buttons really remind me of Bendy and the Ink Machine and Poppy Playtime respectively. But this game can keep you on edge just because you know there's something stalking you, something that can imitate the personalities and voices of other people. Do you risk ending up like Arnold, trusting only yourself and your intuition?
You've made your choice. Your choice. You're not going to cross your line. You could have helped. If you had given me the schematics, we could have fixed it.
I thought you were different and could understand.